So today we start with next turbine, that is Francis turbine. Okay. This is a reaction turbine. Okay. This is also a pressure turbine. Now in this turbine, the water enters to the runner under high pressure. Okay. And leaves the runner at low pressure. Okay. So in the runner, there is a continuous decrease in the pressure from high side to the lower side. Now at the outlet of the runner, the pressure is atmospheric. Okay, so this pressure is atmospheric. Now, if we use a draft tube at the outlet of the turbine, then the pressure at the outlet is less than atmospheric. That pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. Okay. So due to this difference of pressure from inlet to outlet, so there is a reaction on the turbine runner. Due to that reaction, the runner rotates. The runner of the turbine rotates. Okay. Now the difference of pressure, that is from higher side to lower side, that difference of pressure we call as reaction pressure. Okay. Now this reaction pressure is responsible for the rotation of the runner. Okay. So due to this reaction pressure also, we call the Francis turbine as a reaction turbine also. Okay, so due to this reaction pressure, we call the Francis turbine as a reaction turbine. Now, as in this turbine, water passes through the vanes, the pressure energy continuously converted into the velocity energy or the kinetic energy. And that kinetic energy is transferred to the runner. So due to that, the runner starts rotating, or you can say that runner rotates. Now, as a reaction turbine operates under pressure, so as we discussed, the pressure is more at the inlet and it is equal to atmospheric or lower than atmospheric at the outlet. So we have to maintain now this pressure difference. So to maintain the pressure difference, there is a special purpose of casing that we call as the hydraulic function of casing. Now in the reaction turbine, the whole of the runner is always full with the water. So you can note down two more points, that here the casing perform the hydraulic function. Okay. And second thing you can note here, that uh, runner is always full with water. This is the one of the basic diagram for the Francis turbine. Now here in this diagram you can see, now this part of the casing is connected to penstock. Okay, so this is my casing. So water enters from here. Okay, so first water goes to these veins. Now you can see goes to these veins. Okay, so these veins, these are called the guide veins. Okay, so after that water enters to the runner. So enters to the runner. So you can say these veins, these these we call as the runner blades. Okay, so if I mark it with some other color, you can see these are the runner blades. So outer one are the guide vanes, and on the inner side we have the runner blades. Okay, now here we have a special shape of casing. You can see the cross section, this opening, this continuously reduces when we move from inlet to the other end. So, or you can say when we move in the uh, clockwise direction, you can see the opening of the casing is gradually reduces. Okay, so this shape of casing we call as the volute casing, or this is also called the spiral casing. Okay, so in this case you can see the water enters to the casing through penstock, then it first goes to the guide vanes, and then it goes to the runner vanes. Okay, so after runner vanes or runner blades, it goes to the outlet. Okay, at the outlet of the turbine, then we have the draft tube. Now these all components you can see again in this diagram. I have one more diagram. So you can see this diagram. Now you can see this diagram. Now here I have two views for this Francis turbine. Okay, now this is the same diagram as I show you at the top. Okay, now here you can see in this diagram we have water enters from penstock. Okay, it enters to the casing. So we have a special type of casing, that is a scroll casing. Okay, so water enters to the casing, then it first goes to the guide blades. You can see the water goes to the guide blades. Okay. So after guide blades, it goes to the runner blades. So in between, these are the runner blades I have. Okay. So then water goes to the runner blades, and after that it goes to the outlet, and at the outlet we have the draft tube. Okay. Now this is the top view I have. This one is the top view. Okay. Now this is the front view of the turbine. Now in this case, you can see, so here I have the casing, the scroll casing I have. Okay. So this casing, so this cut section model, if I can tell you, so along this line. Okay. So I remove this part. So I remove this part. Okay. Then I see from this side. Okay. So then I am able to draw the front view of this turbine. Okay. So on this side, you can see I have one circle for casing. So that is this one. On other side, I have another circle but having smaller diameter. Okay. So I have the casing now. Okay. So this one is the casing on both sides. So then in between, if I go, I see I have then a row of these guide blades. So that is again on both sides. So these are also the guide blades. Okay. And then I have the runner blades. So here I have the runner blades. This is also the runner blades or runner vanes. Okay. And then water goes to the outlet. So at the outlet, you can see I have the draft tube. Okay. So this one is the draft tube. So through draft tube, the water goes to the tail race. Okay. Then this shaft of the turbine, this is connected to the runner blades. Okay. This is connected to the runner blades. Okay. Now here you see how water flows now. Now here the water enters to the turbine through casing, or you can say the casing is connected to the penstock. So water enters through the casing, okay, and then it first enters to the guide vanes, and then through the runner vanes, it goes to the draft tube, and then to the tail race. Similarly, from casing to guide blades, then to runner blades, to draft tube, and then to the tail race. Okay. Now here you can see the water enters radially. So here the water enters. So entrance is radial. Okay. And it leaves the turbine. This direction is axial. Okay. So the direction of water in the runner or in the turbine, you can say, changes from radial to axial. So that's why this turbine, Francis turbine, we call as mixed flow turbine. Okay. So if I talk about more characteristics of the Francis turbine, so this turbine is the mixed flow turbine in which water enters at the circumference of the runner and travel towards the axis of the runner. Okay. And finally, it comes out axially along the shaft. Okay. So this is the one characteristic. Now, this turbine operates under medium heads. So another characteristic is the medium head. That is, the range of head is from 45 meters to 250 meters. Okay. And also require medium discharge. Okay. Now, if I talk about now the various components, the first important component of this turbine is the penstock. Okay. So it is the waterway used to carry the water from the reservoir to the turbine. Takes water from reservoir to the turbine. Okay. So at the inlet of the penstock, we have trash racks that is used to prevent the debris from going into the turbine. Okay. So we construct a penstock if the we can construct them with the different sections, and those sections we connect together to form a one single penstock. Okay, so for joining these two sections we can weld them. So welding is used to connect the different sections of the penstock. Now the another important part of Francis turbine is the casing. So we have a special type of casing here that we call as spiral casing or scroll casing. Okay, so this casing is around the turbine runner. Okay, this is around the turbine runner and evenly distribute the water around the circumference of the runner. Okay, now how this evenly distribute the discharge, you can see uh, if I rub this all. Now you can see the discharge formula is area into velocity. Okay, so water enters from here, whatever discharge available here, Q. Some amount enters from here, some amount enters from here, similarly from other ends. Okay. Now we have to make this entrance at constant velocity. V should be constant. Okay. Now you can see the formula for V now becomes Q upon A. Now as water enters through various sections, this Q is on reducing side. So in this direction, the Q is reducing because it enters to the runner now. Now if Q is reducing, to maintain this V constant, now we have to reduce this A also. Okay. So that's why this cross section, this cross section, this cross section, this cross section gradually reduces when we move along clockwise direction. Okay, this A also reduces when we move along clockwise direction. So this is to maintain this entrance velocity constant. Okay, so to make this constant velocity, we have to give a special shape to the casing by reducing its cross section area. So that shape we call as the spiral casing or the scroll casing. Okay, so the another function of this casing is to maintain V constant. Okay, now another thing you can note here. Now this casing is always full with water. As this casing is full with water, our runner is also always remains full with water. Another is component is the guide mechanism. Now this guide mechanism we can use to control the speed. Okay, so ultimately we have to control the discharge. To control the speed, we have to control the discharge. So we have to change the discharge. We have to change the discharge now. Now that discharge we can change by changing the position of these guide blades. Okay, we can change the position of these guide blades. Okay, so through this black dot, through these black dots, we can rotate them in clockwise direction or in anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so in one direction, the distance between, or you can say the opening between the two blades is reduced. Okay, and in one direction, the opening is on increasing side. So that opening changes from minimum to maximum when we rotate it either clockwise or anti-clockwise. So further, this controlling or movement of the guide blades is done in guide mechanism, so that we discuss separately. Now these guide blades has a special shape, and that shape we call as airfoil type, that have airfoil section. Okay, so we provide the guide blades with this cross section to facilitate smooth and eddy-less flow, to facilitate smooth and eddy-less flow. Okay. Then the another is runner. Okay. So the runner of the Francis turbine is keyed to the shaft. So you can see here, this is the runner. So with these veins, so that is along the whole periphery. This is connected to the shaft. Okay. And further that shaft connects to the generator. So in this case, the turbine shaft is the shaft is vertical, and the material for this runner is forged steel. Okay. And the last part is the draft tube. Okay. Now this is simply a tube of enlarging cross section. Okay. And it connects the outlet of the turbine to the tailways. Okay. So that is the draft tube. You can see here the draft tube that connects the outlet of the turbine to the tailways. So these are the various components of the draft tube. Oh, sorry, the Francis turbine. These are the various components of the Francis turbine. Okay, so thank you.